Welcome to the presentation, Useful Tips for Using a Meteo-42 Data Logger. My name is Steffen Kuehn. I mainly develop hardware-related software. That means software that lies below the user interface and controls the hardware. That means that I am best qualified to answer questions relating the operating system of the logger. Before we start, I would like to briefly explain the differences between the new Meteo-42 and the Meteo-40. First of all, Meteo-42 and Meteo-40 are almost identical from the user's point of view. The Meteo-42 differs from the Meteo-40 mainly by newer, faster processors, an improved ground concept, 3 RS485 ports, and more modern memories. Therefore, everything I talk about here also applies to a Meteo-40, even so this is mainly about the Meteo-42. I would like to start with a topic that is important when configuring Meteo-42, namely what is the easiest way to access the web interface of the data logger. This slide shows 4 different options. There are more, but these 4 are particularly suitable for the setup. These are Ethernet, Wi-Fi LAN, USB printer cable, and the USB C2A cable. That means it is a cable used to charge an Android smartphone. Let us start with the most traditional, namely Ethernet. Ethernet is particularly suitable if you are in the office and the router or an Ethernet switch is nearby. All you need to do is to connect the router and logger with an Ethernet cable. The router then automatically supplies an IP address to the data logger via DHCP. The method works with all operating systems out of the box. Important is when you're using this method, however, you should check in the display that DHCP is set as a method. That is the default, but the logger has already been used before. It might be that there are other settings, for example, linked local or static IP. I do not explain the latter 2 settings here, however, since this is a topic for more advanced users. It is therefore important to check that the method DHCP is set in the display. If this is the case and the Ethernet cable is plugged in, the IP number can be read from the display. You can then enter this IP number in the address line of the web browser on a PC in the same LAN to access the logger's website. And alternatively, you can usually also use or you can enter serial number.local. If you press enter, a security warning appears in the browser. The warning is that a potential security risk is ahead. This can be ignored. The message only indicates that the cryptographic key used by the data logger has not been approved by a public internet authority. This is not a security problem in this particular case, as the data logger is not an ordinary website in the internet, but a web interface in a local network. If you are not in the same LAN, you can try https serialnumber.connect.com. In this case, you access the logger indirectly and use a special internet service provided from Ammonit as a mediator. In this case, no security warning appears in the browser and you access the data logger via the internet. This latter method should always work, but is usually somewhat slower. If you prefer to use a smartphone or tablet with Android instead of a PC, we recommend to use the USB C2A cable. This cable is exactly the same cable that is usually used to charge a smartphone battery. This is also a point-to-point connection. It is therefore suitable for locations outside of the office, for example, when the device is set up on site or nearby the measuring mast. After connecting the cable to both devices, It is necessary to activate USB tethering on the smartphone. These settings can be found where you also activate wireless LAN or Bluetooth, for example. You can see that the connection was successful in the display in the communication devices LAN section. Their USB 1 device should now be available. And here you can also find the IP number which you can then enter in the smartphone browser. Please note that the logger is also connected to the internet when your smartphone is connected to the internet. This can sometimes be quite useful. For example, you can use an additional PC to connect to the logger via HTTPS serial number .connect.ammonit.com. Another simple method is to connect a Meteo-42 to a PC using a USB printer cable. This method is suitable both in the office and outdoors because unlike Ethernet with DHCP, it is a point-to-point connection. With Linux, this method works out of the box. However, if you are using Windows, a driver must be installed first. This driver can be found on the Ammonit website. Once this driver has been installed, the connection is established automatically. And you can then read the IP number on the display and enter it in the browser. Entering a serial number.local often works as well. As with Ethernet, a security warning appears in the browser, which can be ignored here too. Another option that is particularly suitable for outdoor is wireless LAN. To use this feature, you need a USB Wi-Fi dongle. Unfortunately, not all Wi-Fi dongles that you can buy actually work. It is therefore important to try out a dongle in the office first to see whether it works or not. If you plug a working Wi-Fi dongle in, a new Wi-Fi network is created which has the same name as logger. To connect, you need a password which can be found in the data logger's factory report. You can modify the password in the web interface of the logger. And once you have connected to the wireless network, you can then enter the IP of the logger to access the web interface. By default, the IP is 192.168.42.1. Let us now address another topic that should be not actually be necessary, but unfortunately sometimes becomes relevant in practice. The question is what to do in the case of problems. First of all, Ammonit support is always glad to help. Most problems can be resolved quickly by email, and the email address is support.ammonit.com. Sometimes, however, Ammonit may require direct access to a data logger. By default, Ammonit does not have access to your logger. Of course, we know the initial passwords, but when you change the passwords, we can no longer access the logger. However, in addition to the web interface, there is also an access option for Ammonit that offers many more remote maintenance options. This, of course, switched off by default. If you activate the remote maintenance checkbox, however, Ammonit's development department will have full access to the device. This can be helpful to solve or understand problems in the field. In very rare cases, a data logger no longer starts at all. Most of you will probably know that the logger actually consists of two separate subsystems, namely the measurement processor called MARS and the communication processor called KEX. The actual measuring system is always active when the power supply is plugged in. It therefore also measures continuously. It is furthermore quite robust and designed to be as simple as possible to minimize problems with the software. The KEX communication processor, on the other hand, is a small Linux PC. In the past, the Meteo-40 unfortunately had sometimes problems with a hard disk or SSD in the communication system. This then leads to the infamous please wait display. This error should practically no longer occur with the Meteo-42 as it uses a different memory technology. And in this state, the logger is no longer able to generate the statistic files and upload them to Ammonit.OR or send emails. It is also no longer possible to change the configuration of the data logger. However, as the measuring system continues to run, data will continue to be recorded. Of course, a defective data logger must be replaced, but the question is now how you can access the measurement data after the replacement. I will now explain this. When you have a defective logger back in the office, open the back cover with a screwdriver. You will then see two SD cards. The data SD card is the one marked with a red arrow in the picture. The SD card with a yellow arrow is the SD of the communication subsystem. Both SD cards are encrypted with AES 265. Please remove now the data SD card. If you insert the SD card into Windows, Windows will either not recognize this SD card at all or claim that the SD card is not formatted. Important is, under no circumstances you should allow Windows to format the SD card. Instead, you should install a freeware program with the name Win32 Disk Imager. You can use this program to copy the contents of the SD card into a file. In Linux, you can simply use the command dd instead of Win32 Disk Imager. This slide shows the user interface of Win32 Disk Imager. At the top right, you can select the device. That means the drive of the SD card. To the left of this, specify the file name. Then press read. The file should be read in after about a minute. Then please upload this file together with a configuration file to a cloud server and ask Ammonit for help by email. Ammonit can then generate the statistic files and the source data for you from these two files. With the Meteo-42, this procedure should only be necessary very rarely, as the SSD of the communication subsystem is now an industrial SD card, and that is much more robust than raw NAND flash. Okay, now in an unsorted manner, I would like to mention a few more features that I found useful when I have prepared this presentation and which I think are not so well known. One of these lesser known features is the low traffic mode. This mode was introduced to reduce the amount of data that occurs when using the web interface via the internet. This can be useful when either the bandwidth is very poor or the transmission of data is expensive, such as with satellite connections via BGAN. For satellite connections via Starlink, this is not necessary. The disadvantage of Starlink is the relatively high power consumptions and the limited availability in some countries. Another useful feature is that different user classes are available on the Meteo-42, namely admin, user, viewer, and guest. When a new logger is delivered, each of these users has a password which can be found in the factory report. You can change these passwords, and you can also delete and add users or give them new names. Users with guest rights can view the configuration and look at the live data. Guest users, however, cannot download any data. A viewer, on the other hand, can. And however, a viewer is not allowed to change the configurations. Only a user can do this. But even a user does not have all rights. For example, a user may not carry out software updates or change passwords. The only user that has full access is the admin user. The frequency with which a data logger establishes an internet connection and sends data to Ammonit OR, for example, is set in the communication schedule page. The configuration options are very fine-grained. The configuration can therefore be somewhat time-consuming. And in order to reduce this effort, there is a new feature. And in the scheduling template area, you can choose now between several typical settings via a drop-down menu. Another topic that I would like to address is time setting. There are several ways to set the time. The most safest method is manually. The Meteo-42 has a built-in battery, so the built-in clock continues to run even when the power plug is disconnected. The built-in clock is relatively accurate, which means that the deviation should not exceed 5 minutes per year. If the clock is left running without NTP or GPS, there is no possibility of the time makes small time jumps. This can happen occasionally with NTP and GPS. This then leads to seemingly paradoxical result that you can have more or less measurement data per 10-minute interval than you expect. This is not an error. If you want to set the time during setup, it is useful to press the user browser time button regardless of the selected method. It's marked with a red arrow. In this case, the logger uses the browser time, but with the selected time zone taken into account. A little known feature is that a Meteo-42 can also receive text messages. That doesn't sound particularly useful at the first glance, but sometimes providers send important information about the contract. For example, there have been cases in the past where prepaid SIM cards were used and then the data volume was exceeded. The text message then quickly showed why the data connections was no longer working. Okay, last but not least, I would like to mention a feature that is not so known but might be sometimes quite useful. You can namely connect a webcam to a USB port. This can be used to get an image of the sky or the surroundings when a CSV file is sent. This way you can see, for example, if sensors are iced up. Okay, that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I'm now available to answer your questions.